Welcome back to the channel. It's Tracy with JDL Threads, and as promised, I have a video for you where we are going to be using our 4.25 by 16.2 mighty hoop to do our sleeves. Now, I did explain in previous videos that this one can be a little bit tricky because it's not enough space going this way when you're sewing your embroidery project. And so if you make that embroidery design too big, it's gonna bump your embroidery arm on the bottom of your embroidery machine. Okay, so even though it says 4.25 wide, what I have found in my testing is that we need to make it at least 2.35, maximum maybe 2.40, but even with that 2.40, it's still going to bump that arm a little bit, right? So 2.35, I would say, is the maximum sewing area that you're going to be able to get out of this hoop for any of your horizontal projects that you want to do, whether it be on sleeves or jeans or whatever you may be doing. Now, if you want to get it wider, you can always go back to your other hoops, your 5x5 mighty hoop or your 6x6 if you have that, and then you would just have to reposition your hoop in order to get the many designs that you want to get. Not a big deal. It's just this is a little bit more convenient because you got a little bit more sewing feel to get a few designs in there. Also, even though it says it goes to 16.2 vertical, you don't want to try to sew in that whole 16.2 vertical, because what's going to happen is once it starts moving towards the back of your embroidery machine, this part is going to bump that back part of your embroidery machine, and that's going to throw your registration all off. So you want to try to start your embroidery designs on your software in the middle of your hoop here. I would say you can stop here at this very bottom screw here. Don't try to bring your design all the way down to the bottom of this hoop, because that's when it's going to bang into the back of your embroidery machine. So try to stop it here at the bottom of this screw, or maybe in the middle of that screw, so that you don't lose registration on your embroidery designs. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about. So these are just some test stitches that I did, and this one started off at 2.5 inches wide, and as you guys can see, all registration is just all messed up in there because it kept banging up against that arm, throwing it off, and it just threw off the whole design. Okay, now when we did the elf one down here, this one I did on 240, and when I did my test trace, it still was banging up against that arm a little bit, so I took it down to 235, and then it did put everything within that sewing field in the embroidery hoop where I did not lose registration. Okay, so that's why I'm saying for RICOMA users, I think the maximum sewing field that you're going to get out of this hoop, the 16.25 wide, 16.25 long, or the 4.25 wide, the max you're going to be able to get, you have to make it at least 2 inches smaller, unfortunately. Now, I have seen people using the Melcos, and they're using this exact same embroidery hoop, and their arm on the bottom is just a little bit smaller than the RICOMA arm, so they're going to be able to get a little bit more stitching area than what we are going to be able to get. Okay, so this is just my opinion, my suggestion. I think that we should only do at least minimum 2.35 wide, so that we won't be losing no registration on our embroidery designs. Okay, so now that we've gotten all that out of the way, everybody, let's go on over to the table. Let's get our hooped up on our sleeve so we can go ahead and get that chill elf design stitched out on the sleeve for my project. Here we go. All right, you guys, so we are over at the craft table now. I'm going to be using the same shirt that I used before to do the front of my Christmas Calories Don't Count shirt. And I'm just going to put a design right here on the sleeve. Now, as you can see, we already have that center crease going here. So we're just going to take this bottom part of our hoop and we're going to stick it right in that sleeve. And we're just going to try to get it as centered as best we can. Right. And just try to adjust it to about where you want that center to be as far as where you want your embroidery to start stitching out. So if I look here, let's see. My hoop is going to be up there. And so then mine would probably start stitching out somewhere about here, which that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so I'm going to reach in now. I'm just going to put in my stabilizer. And you guys, I told you, I always just use my scrap materials. 2 pieces of scrap cutaway stabilizer that I'm just going to put in here and fit into this sleeve so that we can get this design done rather than just going ahead and cutting a whole new piece, because I have so much leftovers from when I'm doing projects and it just don't make no sense to me to just throw it out. So I'm going to carefully reach in here and place it in the hoop. And I'm going to try to get it centered back in the middle where my crease is. And let's fill it with those fingers. And I think it could probably go over a little bit more. There we go. All right, that looks good to me, you guys. So then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to drop my hoop down. Oops, don't need those scissors in there. Okay, and as you can see, it is a little bit off. So I'm going to pick it up one more time and just push my shirt over just a little bit. And watch your fingers, guys. Don't let your fingers get caught in that hoop. And that looks much better. So I think if you can see the crease is here and it's lined up right in the middle with that dot. Okay, so with that, we're going to take it on over to the embroidery machine and we are going to go ahead and get this design stitched out. So let's go. Okay, everybody, we are back over at our embroidery machine. So all we're going to do is we are going to slide our shirt over our bar, right? Remembering to make sure that we don't have any fabric caught up underneath this bar. All of our fabric should be going around under the bottom down there, right? So you want to fill in there really good to make sure it's going all the way around, because you don't want to sew your shirt together. Okay? And with that, we're going to go ahead and we are going to go ahead and get started. Here we go. All right, you guys, and with that, the embroidery is done. So let me go ahead and clean up my stitches, and let's go ahead and talk about this here. I'll be right back. You guys, so here's the design. Now, as you can see, sometimes, at least this time, it did not pay off to take a shortcut, okay? Because I didn't have my stabilizer going from all the way this side to all the way this side to help keep my fabric really, really stiff. So it was a little bit loose up in here and it was moving around a little bit. And guess what, you guys? It just threw it off registration. So it's not the best design stitch out today, but we know what to do next time, right? We want to make sure that even if we are using those extra pieces that we have, they need to go from side to side so that it'll hold that fabric more sturdy and it won't give it any room to be wiggling around up inside that hoop. Now, do I still think the design came out nice? I do, with a few minor issues, but it's just for me. And just so everyone knows what to do and what not to do, okay? And then now we did do the first side of the sleeve with the elf, and that one came out pretty okay, but it could have been better. So we're going to do the other sleeve now, and we're going to do things just a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and use our same 4.25 by 16.2 mighty hoop, our long one here again, and we are also going to this time tape down our design, tape down our cutaway stabilizer to our hoop instead of just letting it float like we did last time, because that made my sleeve a little bit too loose and a little bit too wiggly, and that's why I lost registration. So we're going to fix that this time. So let me show you how to do that. All right, so you see the frame there, and all we're going to do is we're going to just take our blue painter's tape, and we're just going to tape our stabilizer to the side so that when we stick our embroidery hoop in our sleeve, that we can have a nice tight fit and our stabilizer doesn't move at all. So we can get a great registration this time on our embroidery design, you guys. So that's all I'm doing, is just taping it down, because we don't have the sleeve hoop to go ahead and slide into our shirt, but that's okay. It's great if you have it, and if you don't, we just make it work, right? That's what we do here. We just make it work, because everybody's not going to have that sleeve station for the mighty hoop, right? All right, so we're going to just turn our sweatshirt to the other sleeve now. You see we have the natural crease right here. We just folded it and it has the natural crease. We're going to go along with that, and we're going to stick the bottom part of our mighty hoop into our sleeve. There it is. It's all taped up. We're just going to stick it in. Stabilizer should be good. We're going to find our center point here, which should be there. Let me just look in there and try to make sure I got it as centered as possible. All right, that looks good. And then all we're going to do, try to get everything laid flat on the table. And we're going to put the top of our hoop on. And this time, we're going to make sure that it's more taut than what it was the last time, guys, because we don't want no issues. And that looks pretty good to me. We're just going to pull it just a little bit, just to make sure, though. Just a little bit. And now, do you hear that? We didn't get that before, that drum sound effect. So we're going to head on over to our RICOMA MT1501 to get it hooked up and get this design stitched out. Again, it's a milkshake design with a candy cane, and let's go ahead and get that stitched out. All right, so we are over at the RICOMA MT1501, and we're just going to slide our shirt in, making sure that we get all our fabric around that bottom bar because we don't want to sew our shirt together. We're just going to go in through the bottom and double check, you guys. Make sure it's all the way under because we don't want any problems. All right, and that feels good. So now all I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do my trace. And that looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and just get started on this design. So let's go. All right, guys, and with that, my design is done. And can I just tell you guys, it looks so good. It looks really, really nice. Let me just go ahead and pull this arm out and show you guys what it looks like. And look at that, you guys. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. Now again, what I found out to be what worked for me is that I wrote down here that I should only go 2.30 wide. I did end up doing 2.40, and this first one did stitch out really much in the center, but because this hat would have been a little bit past the cup here, I did go ahead and push the embroidery back over to the left a little bit so that this ball on his hat wouldn't bang up against the embroidery arm, this one here, when it was doing the stitch out, because I did do a second stitch out, and even though it was a little bit smaller, it still banged just a little bit and knocked it out of registration. But as you can see, I just stopped the machine after it did this first stitch out, and I pushed it over to the left a little bit for the Santa hat and drink, and it stitched out beautifully, you guys. Stitched out really, really nice. So there it is, our stitch out with our 4.25 times 16.2 mighty hoop, and it is amazing. I love it. And again, it can also be used for pants. Just remember, you have to like kind of shrink your design down a little bit to compensate for this bar right here on your embroidery machine. And let me go ahead and get this out of the hoop, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. All right, everybody, and here is what the shirt looks like. We have our little chill elf on the side of the one sleeve. We have our calories, Christmas calories don't count in the middle, and then we have our drinks on this other arm. And I must say, you guys, it came out pretty awesome, I think. So that's what it looks like, using 2 sets of mighty hoops to get the job done, you guys. And again, I would just like to say, keep up with whatever your crafting is, you guys. Keep doing your thing. And thank you for joining me in my video, and I will see you guys in the next one.